The glass door slammed open at 11:47 p.m., and Naomi Reyes froze mid-step, her cleaning cart rattling against the marble floor of Vantage Tower. Behind her, wrapped in a thin blanket and clutched against her chest, 2-year-old Mila stirred and whimpered. "Please don't wake up," Naomi whispered. "Please, baby, just 5 more minutes." She had no choice. Her sitter had cancelled an hour before her shift, and if she didn't show up tonight, she'd lose the only job that paid enough to keep their apartment. So she'd done the unthinkable. She'd smuggled her daughter into the executive floor of the city's most feared office tower, praying no one would notice. She ducked into a supply closet, set Mila down on a folded blanket atop a cart, and kissed her forehead. "Stay asleep. Mommy will be right back." 3 offices down, Damian Ashworth sat alone in the dark, lit only by the glow of his monitor. He hadn't gone home in 2 days. He rarely did anymore. Home had too many photographs, too many silences shaped exactly like his daughter. He heard nothing. Not the door. Not the footsteps. He was too far gone in the file open on his screen, his company's 4th quarter layoffs, numbers he couldn't make himself feel anything about. He used to feel everything. Now he felt nothing at all, and some nights that terrified him more than grief ever had. Then he heard it. A small voice. "Hi." Damian's head snapped up so fast his chair nearly tipped. Standing in his office doorway, barefoot, blanket dragging behind her like a cape, was a toddler he had never seen in his life. "What?" His voice cracked from disuse. "Who are you?" Mila didn't answer. She toddled forward, unbothered by the imposing size of the room, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the man who looked like he hadn't slept in a year. She walked straight up to his desk, put both hands on his knee, and looked up at him with total, uncomplicated trust. "Up," she said. Damian didn't move. He couldn't. His arms felt like they belonged to someone else. "Mila." Naomi burst through the door seconds later, breathless, terror written across her face. "Oh my God, I am so sorry, sir, she was asleep, I swear, I just turned around for 1 second." She reached for her daughter, but Mila had already climbed halfway up Damian's leg, insistent, giggling now. "Please don't fire me," Naomi said, her voice breaking. "Please. I need this job. I'll clean twice as hard, I'll work any shift, just, please don't call security." Damian said nothing. He was staring at the toddler now, gripping his sleeve with a strength that didn't match her size. His chest was doing something he didn't recognize, a tightness, a pressure, like something cracking open after being sealed shut for months. "She's not scared of you," Naomi said quietly, watching his face. "Most people are." "I know," Damian said. His voice sounded strange even to himself. "I haven't held a child since," he stopped. Naomi waited. She didn't fill the silence. Something in his eyes told her not to. Slowly, mechanically, like a man remembering an old, buried instinct, Damian reached down and lifted Mila onto his lap. She settled immediately, thumb in her mouth, completely at ease, as if she'd done this 100 times before. Naomi's hand flew to her mouth. She had never seen Damian Ashworth's face on the news look anything but hard, unreadable, cold. The employees called him the Ice King behind his back. Now his eyes were wet, and his jaw was trembling. "What's her name?" he asked. "Mila. Mila." He repeated it like he was testing whether the word would break him. It almost did. "Sir, I really am sorry," Naomi said again. "This will never happen again, I promise you." "Sit down," Damian said suddenly. "What?" "Sit down. Please." His voice cracked on the last word. Naomi hesitated, then lowered herself into the chair across from his desk, still watching him hold her daughter like she was made of glass. "I had a daughter," Damian said, staring at a photo frame turned slightly away from view. "Her name was Elena. She was 4. Naomi's breath caught. "Was? She died 11 months ago." His voice was flat now, rehearsed from being said too many times to doctors, board members, lawyers, never once to someone who actually looked at him while he said it. "Car accident. I wasn't even in the city when it happened." "I'm so sorry," Naomi whispered. Everyone says that. He looked down at Mila, who had fallen back asleep against his chest, small fist curled into his shirt. But nobody said it while a 2-year-old was sleeping on me. That's new. Naomi didn't know what to say, so she said nothing, and for the first time in almost a year, Damian Ashworth didn't need her to. The silence between them stretched, but it wasn't tense anymore. It was something else. Something neither of them had words for yet. I should get back to work, Naomi finally said, reaching for Mila. Wait. Damian's hand came up, not touching her, just a gesture. Can I ask you something? Okay. Why did you bring her here? Really? Naomi's eyes stung. Because I had no one else. Her father left when she was 6 months old. My mother's back in Puerto Rico, my sitter canceled, and I make $11 an hour cleaning floors most people will never even walk on. I didn't have a choice, sir. It was bring her or lose my job, and losing my job means losing our apartment. Damian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said the words that would change both of their lives. There used to be a daycare on the 2nd floor of this building. Naomi blinked. I've heard about it. It's been closed since Elena died. I couldn't stand walking past it. I couldn't stand hearing kids laugh in this building when mine wasn't laughing anywhere anymore. He looked down at Mila again. I think it's time I stopped punishing this whole building for my grief. Sir, I don't understand what you're. I want to reopen it, Damian said, and for the first time in almost a year, something like resolve entered his voice. And I want you to run it. Naomi stared at him, certain she'd misheard. Me? You. Full-time. Daytime hours, full benefits, and triple what you're making now. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Damian looked down at his sleeping daughter's namesake in spirit, this small stranger who had walked through a locked door in his heart like it wasn't even there. Because she just did something I thought was impossible, he said quietly. She made me feel something again. I owe both of you, more than a job. But it's the only thing I know how to give right now. If you've ever had a stranger show up at exactly the moment you needed them most, type 1 in the comments right now, because what happens next between Naomi and Damian is about to change everything, and you do not want to miss it. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is just getting started. Naomi walked home in a daze that night, Mila asleep against her shoulder, her mind replaying the last hour on a loop. She kept waiting for the moment it would feel like a dream she'd wake up from. It didn't come. He's going to change his mind, she muttered to herself on the bus. Rich men don't make promises like that to people like me and actually keep them. But some small, stubborn part of her wanted to believe him. That part scared her more than the doubt did. Naomi didn't sleep that night, even after her shift ended. She sat on the edge of her bed with Mila curled beside her, replaying Damian's offer over and over, searching for the catch. Powerful men didn't hand out miracles for free. Somebody always wanted something back. He's probably going to change his mind by morning, she whispered to the dark. Men like that don't follow through. But he did. At 8 a.m. sharp, Naomi's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Damian. Meet me at the tower's 2nd floor at noon. Bring Mila. I want to show you something. Naomi stared at the message for a full minute before responding. Are you sure about this? His reply came fast. I've never been more sure of anything in 11 months. When she arrived, the 2nd floor was unrecognizable from the dusty, padlocked space she remembered hearing about. Contractors were already measuring walls. Boxes of new furniture sat stacked near the entrance. And there, in the middle of it all, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, stood Damian Ashworth, a man the tabloids called untouchable, on his knees, assembling a small wooden chair meant for a child half his size. You're actually doing this, Naomi said, stunned. I told you I would. He didn't look up from the screwdriver in his hand. Most people say a lot of things at midnight they don't mean by noon. Damian finally met her eyes. I'm not most people. Not anymore. Not after last night. I still don't understand why you're doing this, Naomi said, setting Mila down. The toddler immediately toddled toward a pile of stuffed animals like she owned the place. You could have just given me a bonus and sent me on my way. Nobody would have blamed you. I would have blamed me. Damian stood, brushing sawdust off his knees. Do you know what I did for 11 months, Naomi? I came to this building every single day and I avoided the second floor like it was contaminated. I took the stairs instead of the elevator so I wouldn't have to walk past this door. I built an entire routine around avoiding one hallway. That sounds exhausting. It was. It is. Was. He shook his head, almost laughing at himself. I don't even know what tense to use anymore. That's how long I've been stuck. And now I want to walk past this door and hear laughing instead of silence. I want that more than I've wanted anything in a long time. Over the following weeks, Naomi watched him show up earlier and earlier, staying later, personally choosing paint colors, testing every toy for safety, interviewing potential staff himself. His assistant pulled Naomi aside one afternoon, bewildered. I've worked for him for 6 years, she said. I've never seen him smile at the office. Not once. Now he's picking out finger paint. Why is he doing all this? Naomi asked. Honestly, I think your daughter cracked something open in him that grief had sealed shut. And I think he's terrified of it closing again. That fear showed itself one afternoon when Naomi found Damian standing motionless in the half-finished daycare, staring at a mural being painted on the far wall, a garden scene, bright and soft, nothing like the sterile office aesthetic everywhere else in the building. Are you okay? She asked gently. Elena loved gardens, he said, his voice distant. She used to draw them for hours. I have 300 of her drawings in a storage unit I haven't opened in almost a year. You don't have to talk about this if it's too much. No, he said, surprising her. I want to. I haven't wanted to talk about her with anyone in months, and suddenly I can't stop wanting to talk about her with you. Naomi felt something shift in her chest, not romantic, not yet, but something rare and fragile. Trust. The kind she hadn't offered anyone since Mila's father walked out the door. My husband left when I told him I was pregnant, she said quietly. Told me he wasn't ready to be a father. I raised Mila alone in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, worked 3 jobs some months just to keep the lights on. Why are you telling me this? Because you told me about Elena. Seemed only fair. Damian studied her for a long moment. You're the strongest person I've met in a long time. I'm just a mother trying to survive. That, he said, is the strongest thing a person can be. That night, after Naomi had gone home, Damian sat alone in the half-painted daycare for a long time, staring at the mural of the garden. His phone buzzed, a board member, again, asking about the budget reallocation. He silenced it without reading past the first line. He thought about the storage unit full of Elena's drawings. He thought about how, for 11 months, opening that unit had felt like reopening a wound that would never close. Then he thought about Naomi's voice, steady and unafraid, telling him about the laundromat, about raising a daughter alone, about surviving. Maybe I don't have to keep it closed forever, he said out loud, to no one. The next morning, he called a storage facility and asked them to deliver 3 boxes to his office. When Naomi arrived at noon, she found him surrounded by dozens of crayon drawings spread across his desk, gardens, suns with too many rays, a stick-figure family standing in front of a house that didn't exist anywhere except in a 4-year-old's imagination. Damian, she breathed. Are you sure you're ready for this? No, he admitted. But I don't want to wait until I'm ready. I've been waiting for 11 months and it never comes on its own. He held up a drawing, a lopsided sun, an even more lopsided dog, and a little girl with her arms stretched wide. She drew this a week before the accident. I couldn't look at it for a long time. I can look at it now. Why now? Because your daughter reminded me that love doesn't wait for permission. It just shows up, barefoot, in the middle of the night, and demands to be let in. The daycare's opening day arrived faster than either of them expected. Word had spread through the building. Damian Ashworth, the Ice King, was personally funding, designing, and staffing a full childcare center for employees, free of charge. Some called it a publicity stunt. Others whispered he'd finally lost his mind. Naomi ignored all of it. On opening morning, 12 children walked through the doors for the first time in nearly a year, laughter echoing through hallways that had been silent since Elena's death. Damian stood at the entrance, watching, and for the first time, an employee caught him smiling, not a polite corporate smile, but something real, something that reached his eyes. "Sir," one of his board members said cautiously, pulling him aside. "The shareholders are asking questions about this expense. It's not exactly generating revenue." Damian didn't blink. Some things aren't supposed to generate revenue. Some things are supposed to generate meaning. Cut it from wherever you need to, but this daycare stays open as long as I own this building. Later that evening, after the children had gone home and the halls had quieted, Naomi found Damian sitting on one of the tiny chairs, looking utterly out of place and completely at peace for the first time since she'd met him. "You did something incredible today," she said. "We did," he corrected. "None of this happens without you. Without Mila. Don't put that on us. This was you." "No," Damian said, shaking his head. "For 11 months, I thought I was protecting myself by shutting everyone out. Turns out I was just slowly disappearing. You and your daughter didn't just walk into my office that night. You walked into a life I'd already given up on living." Naomi felt tears sting her eyes. "I was terrified you were going to fire me." "I know." He almost laughed. "Instead you gave me my life back. If this story is hitting you right in the chest, smash that like button right now and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I read every single one, and it means the world. We're almost at the ending, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens 1 year later. Stick around." A year passed in what felt like both a heartbeat and a lifetime. The daycare, now fully staffed and thriving, had become the heart of Vantage Tower, no longer a symbol of loss, but of second chances. Naomi had been promoted twice, now overseeing the entire childcare program with a salary that let her move out of the apartment above the laundromat and into a small house with a backyard, something she'd once thought impossible. Mila, now 3, had grown into a chatterbox who ruled the daycare's block corner like a tiny queen. And every single day, without fail, Damian Ashworth found 20 minutes in his schedule to visit her, not as her mother's boss, not as the tower's owner, but as something the staff had started calling, half-jokingly, Uncle Damian. On the daycare's first anniversary, the building held a celebration. Balloons lined the halls. Children's laughter spilled from every corner. And in the center of the newly renamed space, now called Elena's Garden, stood a plaque with a simple inscription, in memory of Elena Ashworth, who taught her father that love doesn't end. It just finds a new way to grow. Damian stood before it, Naomi beside him, watching Mila and a dozen other children chase bubbles across the sunlit room. "I never thought I'd feel joy again," Damian said quietly. "Not real joy. Just performance. Going through motions so people would stop worrying about me. And now I look forward to Tuesdays because that's the day Mila insists on reading me the same book 4 times in a row." He smiled, and it was easy now, unforced. "Now I remember what it feels like to want to wake up in the morning." Naomi looked at him, at the man who had rebuilt an entire piece of his shattered life around a stranger's kindness and a toddler's fearless hand. "Elena would be proud of you," she said softly. "I don't know her, but I know that." Damian's eyes glistened. "I think she sent Mila to me that night. I don't know how else to explain it. Some nights I still think it was too impossible to be real." "Sometimes the impossible just needs an open door," Naomi said. "Or in this case, a supply closet and a very determined toddler who doesn't know how to stay asleep." They both laughed, and it was the kind of laugh that only exists between two people who have survived something together and come out the other side lighter for it. Across the room, Mila spotted them and came running, arms outstretched, colliding into Damian's legs the exact same way she had that very first night. "Up," she demanded, exactly as she had 11 months before. Damian lifted her without hesitation, without the frozen shock of that first night, just pure, easy love. "Some people believe in fate," the narrator's voice would say here, softening. "Others believe in coincidence. But maybe some nights, when two broken people are standing closer than they realize, all it takes is one small hand reaching out in the dark to remind them both how to heal." If this story moved you even a little, don't scroll away without hitting subscribe. There are so many more stories like this one waiting for you. Drop a comment and tell me which moment hit you hardest. Share this with someone who needs a little hope today, and I will see you in the next story. Take care of yourselves, and remember, sometimes the smallest hands hold the power to heal the biggest wounds.